From where you are, you might think these are small dandelions, but this is Coltsfoot. And if you put the two together, here are some dandelions, you'll see that in dandelion the stem is smooth, hollow and milky, whereas the stem in Coltsfoot is solid and it's tiled with these leaf-like scales. Now they both belong in the same family, the daisy family, where what looks like a single flower from a distance is actually made up of a large number of small florets, all working together cooperatively and having the appearance of a single flower from a distance. One of the most distinctive things about Coltsfoot is the way in which the flowers appear before the leaves, and when there's very little else to get in the way of the flowers, which look like gold coins scattered in full view of potential pollinators at a time of the year when the floral stage is relatively empty. And even though from a distance you could mistake these for dandelion, in fact they belong to a different tribe. They belong to the same tribe as the daisy, in which there are two different types of floret in the head or capitulum. In dandelion, the florets are all of the same type. Now in the daisy, the two types of floret are different colours, so they're more obvious. But here, the two types of flower in Coltsfoot are the same colour. If you look closely, better with your hand lens if you have one, you will see that at the centre of the inflorescence there are 30 to 40 individual bell-shaped disc florets, each of which is made up of 5 fused petals, narrowing to a sort of pipette at the bottom with a tiny, wider goblet above. Nectar rises into this bell from a fleshy yellow nectary surrounding the base of the style. The main visitors in search of the nectar are early bees and hoverflies. Sometimes you can see dozens or even hundreds of honeybees visiting the flowers. Inside the petal goblet there are 5 stamens, the anthers of which are fused together to form a hollow tube into which they shed their pollen. The style grows up through this hollow tube, and as it does so, it pushes the pollen to the top of the bell, where it is exposed to visiting insects. These little disc florets at the centre appear to be hermaphrodite. In other words, both male and female in the same flower. They have the style and stigma, which acts as a ramrod pushing the pollen up to the top of the anther cylinder, and they're producing pollen. So they have both male and female parts. But the ovary is abortive, so they are not able to produce seed. These little florets have 2 functions. One is to produce pollen, and the other is to offer nectar to potential pollinators. The heads are strongly protogynous, which means the female flowers mature 2 days before pollen is produced. If there are no pollinating insects on the wing, partial closure of the flowers at night brings the stigmas of the female flowers in contact with the pollen in the florets at the centre, and self-fertilization can take place. And if it starts to rain, the flowers droop and stay dry. You'll notice that the individual florets don't have sepals. This is because they don't need sepals to protect them in bud, since they are so tightly regimented together. The sepals are replaced by hairs, and the capitulum, which is the technical term for the flower head, as a whole is protected by these 2 rows of tile-like structures called bracts, which are really just modified leaves. After fertilization, the flower heads droop as though asleep. But once the seeds are ripe and ready for dispersal, the stems lengthen to bring the seeds up into the breeze, where conditions are better suited to a successful parachute launch. And each of these little seeds has got 50 or 60 silky hairs, ideal for long distance travel. And when they find a suitable place to settle down, the seeds germinate and the plant spreads rapidly by means of underground stems or rhizomes, so that these patches that you see here are often clones of an individual plant. The English name for coltsfoot is thought to derive from a fancied resemblance of the leaves to the shape of a horse's hoof. The Latin scientific name is tussilago, which comes from a Greek word, tussis, which means a cough. And that gives us a clue as to how coltsfoot was used in the past, because it was considered a safe and sovereign remedy for coughs and colds, for runny noses, etc. Syrup of coltsfoot, that's coltsfoot mixed with treacle or brown sugar, was used to treat chronic bronchitis, whooping cough, and to alleviate the symptoms of consumption, as tuberculosis was known. Smoking the leaves, a habit which goes back at least 2,000 years, was thought to be good for treating asthma and colds and a variety of other lung complaints, and indeed coltsfoot is still one of the main ingredients in herbal tobacco. Apart from its medicinal uses, another very important use of coltsfoot was this cottony stuff on the back of the leaf and on the stem, and also it's found also in the tissues of the root. That was a key ingredient in making a very effective tinder for lighting fires in the days before matches and firelighters and the like. And that's only a fraction of its uses. Even birds make use of the cottony material on the seeds to make their nests, finches particularly. And for all you know, you may be wearing coltsfoot yourself, because tincture of coltsfoot is an ingredient in the manufacture of some hairsprays.